Today we'll be shooting on both sides of the river, both in Jersey City and New York City. I'm going to be using the Godox V480 with this repurposed modifier, which you guys are going to love. I love this little setup. First off, the V480 is so light, and this modifier works perfectly with it. Not a perfect fit, but it works perfectly with it. I'll be using the Godox F2 Evo for Z-mount. I showed you guys this on the Sony FE mount. This is a great lens. It's lightweight, it's small, and it's a great 85. I'll also be using the Nikon Z28mm f2 2.8 and my favorite, the Viltrox 50 f2 Air. Now listen, I know a lot of YouTubers will scoff at this equipment and me using this for professional jobs, but if you use it for professional work, it's professional equipment. I like the weight, the size, I like the quality. These are great lenses and a great flash. If it works for you and you get paid for the job, it's professional equipment. It's that simple. Now, the 480 with that modifier on it is so lightweight. It's fantastic to use for a shoot like this because I'm shooting one-handed with the camera and one-handed with the flash. And this lightweight gear makes that possible. I can literally go all day with this because it is so lightweight. The flash itself is giving plenty of power. I'm shooting in manual mode with the flash. I'm probably at like 1/8 power. I go up to 1/4 once in a while. This is just a little bit too hot for me. I'm not trying to compete with the sun. I'm not caring about the backdrop. I don't care if the sky blows out or anything like that because my subjects themselves are the image. You know, I know everybody likes to go right to the out of focus, the blurry backgrounds, and judge the images on that. None of your clients will ever do that, I promise you. And if you're shooting in locations like this, you want to see the environment. That's the other thing, the environment that we're in. We didn't have specific places to go or specific ideas to shoot in. We just walked around, and I let them be natural. I didn't pose them. They had chemistry. I noticed that. So when you have a couple like this, the best thing you can do is shut your mouth and let them do what they do. But don't ever turn your back on them. Anyway, I'm shooting with the Godox V480, the X3. I'm using the Viltrox 50mm. I'll pull out the 85 later, but I love this setup.
It's raining.
This here is a prime example of why you just let your subjects do what they're going to do and have fun in the moment versus saying, okay, we're going to go to this location and do this pose, and we're going to go to that location and do this pose. Just let them be. Whether it's a single person that you're shooting or a couple, sometimes just walking around and having fun is all you need. Now, this was the moment that I had to remind him that that was my daughter. And I was a little uncomfortable. Anyway, I was just teasing and having fun with them, but we got this shot out of it, which is everything to me. It's these type of natural shots that the couple will appreciate the most because it's them being themselves. You know, when you set up couples in specific poses, although it's needed sometimes, I get that and I understand that, but a lot of times them just having fun and being themselves and being natural is the most important. And it's the ones they'll appreciate most. You know, a lot of times you'll look at images that you took of, a subject or a couple, and you'll think, my God, that's like the perfect image. Why wouldn't they pick that? It's because they don't see themselves in the image. We can set up the perfect pose, the perfect lighting, and it just doesn't speak to them because it's not them. And when you just let them be themselves, which this whole shoot was that. Honestly, I didn't have to do anything. He's an actor. She's an influencer. This is what they do. But them together, the chemistry that you saw in the images and with them together, you can't fake it. Even with an actor or a influencer that does this, you just can't fake this kind of chemistry. So let them go. Let them be themselves. Let them enjoy the moment. And you just capture it. Be a fly on the wall. I specifically didn't walk next to them during the whole shoot. I walked behind them and watched. You'll see a lot of images where I'm just, behind them and I'm shooting them from behind with them walking and talking. I didn't want to insert myself in this whatsoever. And by staying outside of their circle, they were just able to be themselves, have conversations, and not worry about a third wheel with them. It works. Now, I know you'll have a lot of couples or individuals that say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pose. Like, where do you want us? In those situations, it'll take just a little bit longer for them to get comfortable. But again, keep yourself away from them. It just takes a little bit of time for them to be themselves. If you're not with them directly, not constantly, on their side or next to them, they're going to go to their natural state of talking, having conversations, and enjoying the moment. Now this here, I was on the first floor shooting up through the window. And this is them being themselves and, doing what they do. And I'm just capturing each one of these moments, which is fantastic. Now, obviously, you're going to want to have them look at the camera once in a while. And that's the only time you insert yourself in these situations. Get their attention, say, hey, glance over here, take the shot, and then go back to ignoring them again. And they'll go back to being who they are and doing what they do. This kind of stuff is a lot of fun. Now, I'm not saying don't ever pose them or don't ever set them up in positions, but with these two, I really didn't have to. In between him and her, they came up with, each location, each pose, they just did it and they were natural. And that's why the images are so much fun. And, they tried things, they did things a little strange at times, but it doesn't matter. They were having fun. Now, in this part here, there was a giant wind and hailstorm that suddenly came across. This was brutal. It was big hail, and they didn't care. They just had fun in the moment. Me, I was a pussy going, okay, yeah, this is good. Let's go inside again. It was kind of a chilly day, and I wasn't ready for this, but the photos worked. I wasn't worried about focusing or perfect images. Now here the hailstorm is still going on, so I'm shooting through a window because I'm like, you guys want to go out there? That's fine. I'll stay inside and shoot through the window. Uh, I like the images. They were kind of cool images, but you can see in the video that the wind was just horrible blowing, and they're having a ball. They didn't care. They just had fun in the moment, and I just stood back and watched. And remember, you're going to have memories yourself by just being that fly on the wall. Standing back and watching a couple interact with each other and seeing their personalities come out, as strange as it may be sometimes, can be a lot of fun. So again, don't always pose every image that you're going to do. It doesn't have to be that way. You see a location, say, hey, just sit there, and then step back and shut up. Now, if they sit there staring at you, waiting for you to tell them what to do, just give them that first pose. Just say, hey, just look at each other, and then take a step back. Play with your camera or something to let them go into their natural state. Even if you have to say, hey, you guys just talk a little bit. I want to change my settings really quick. They're going to go into who they are and start talking, and then just pick up your camera quietly and start shooting them talking or interacting. I promise you, they'll go into it. They will get into the flow of things without too much work or effort on your part. Now, they wanted all black and white images. Of course, I'm going to show you some of the color images because I want you to see what the lens is doing, what the camera is doing, the flash. But again, their end deliverables are black and white. Now, I love a lot of these images in black and white. I think they're fantastic, but I love a lot of them in color as well. I provide two galleries. When someone asks for a black and white session, I always provide two galleries of first the color and then a separate gallery for the black and white. The images all look great in black and white. I love them, but I still want to be able to provide them an option. Even though they wanted a black and white session, I provided that. I gave them what they want, but I wanted to go that one step further and add the color as well, just in case. Like this image here is fantastic in color. I wouldn't want to miss out on that image and just provide the black and white. Of course, that's up to you. And, some clients are different, but most of my clients appreciate that I'm providing both. And it's not that much extra work, but it will provide extra income because, a lot of the times they're going to say, I want this one in color too, because I love this in color. And having those options are great. Now, getting back to the equipment, the Viltrox 50mm f2 Air was my most used lens on this shoot. The lens is fantastic and it works in most situations. Again, f2 is perfectly fine for me. Remember, the closer you get, the more blurry the backdrop, the further away, the less blurry. But I didn't want blurry backdrops through all this because of our environment. I wanted to show the environment, and the subjects are strong enough to carry the image on their own. If every image is just going to be completely blurred out backdrops, what's the use in going to any kind of location? Honestly, um, it doesn't make sense. So, show the environment. Don't worry about a 1.2 perfectly blurred out backdrops and perfect bokeh. Your subject should be strong enough to carry the image on their own. And if they're not, you're doing something wrong. Make your subjects the image. They're going to look at them that way. They're not going to turn around and go, oh, I'm sorry, this bokeh is not what we expected in our images. You'll never have a subject say that. I know it's fun for us as photographers to zoom in and pixel peep, but your clients, they're not going to do that. They just want great images, and the only thing they'll be looking at is themselves. If they're natural and they can see themselves in the images, that's what matters to them most. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them below.